Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lead Different podcast. I'm excited to introduce you guys to my guest today, Dr. Sean O'Mara. He is the world's leading physician in health and performance optimization. He works with business executives, professional performers, and athletes motivated to optimize through innovative techniques of performance enhancement. Dr. O'Mara was a founder of an innovative medical startup in Minneapolis, Minnesota called Lantu, focusing on health and performance optimization. He has over a decade of experience evaluating and, more importantly, reversing chronic disease. He innovatively provides his clients with practical solutions to optimize their overall appearance, performance, health, and quality of life. No risky pharmaceuticals, hormones, or surgical interventions are needed for better optimizing results. I can't wait to share this podcast with my audience. I can't even wait to share this with all my friends because there's so much value in what Dr. Sean O'Mara does. So without further ado, let me bring him on screen and let's get this interview started. How you doing, Dr. Sean?
I'm doing so good. Dan, how are you?
I'm outstanding. I was introduced to you by a fellow that we both know, Mr. Oh my gosh, I just forgot the name. Dave Durand. Durand on Demand. He's doing an amazing job with his show, launching Leading Giants. I saw you on there and I said, I got to have this guy on my show because the Lead Different podcast is made for leaders who want to lead different, who are willing to try something new, something different, something out of the box. And then when I saw the advertisement for your podcast with Dave, we were talking about the carnivore diet. And we've all heard different versions of the carnivore diet and the importance of, we heard the Atkins diet and the eat protein, but you've taken it to a whole new different level. And I want you to share that with our audience because you've studied this. You've put some great science behind it. I've already shared your podcast interview with so many people, but it's so good to have you here. So welcome to the show, Dr. Sean.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for having me. And just hearing that word leader, it's an attractive target for me and I'm sure for you, but I'm really excited to be able to reach other leaders. And I'll say at the outset as my comments, I can divide the group of leaders people who are going to like me and people who won't. They both will claim to be leaders. But if you're a leader that everything that gets in front of you, you want to improve. If you want to improve your entire organization, you want to improve your family, you want to improve your friends, you want to make things better, then I'll be attracted to you. But if you're a leader who just fixates on one thing, maybe you're just fixing cars or you're just fixing your company, you're not going to like this so much. It's not going to be as interesting to you. But the type of personality that just loves the concept of optimizing is going to find my approach to what I share about biology, physiology, and what the conventional system calls healthcare. I think this will be very appealing to them.
You know what? You hit on something really important, and it's so great that we're connected, Dr. Sean, because I have a feeling we're going to collaborate on something else. Here's what I do. I tell people, look, if you want to lead different, you got to start. Everything that we do starts with self-awareness. So I talk about the self-awareness of, hey, what is it that drives you? What is it that makes you do what you do? Well, what you're talking is every bit as important. Self-awareness of what's going on inside you. So you get into that physiological part of you and you open it up. I hope you get to share some of those MRIs that you do on your clients because it's, hey, here's who you are. It doesn't matter what you've done before. It matters what we're going to do. Go ahead. Same thing we do with self-awareness. Hey, I get leaders that tell me, my team doesn't like me. I wish they understood how much I care about them. Well, it comes with self-awareness. Do you realize how you're talking to them, right? Do you realize that your personality can be grating on some people? And while you may care a whole lot about them, the way you show it is not coming across that way. Well, same thing here. And then those are hard conversations, right? Like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing that. Same thing. You're going to take a person, give them an evaluation. You're going to do an MRI and say, here's who you are, buddy. and you should be oval shaped and you're round shaped. And that's probably what's leading to some of the issues that you're having. So let's get to work, because it doesn't matter where you are, it's where you're going. So tell us a little bit about, well, first of all, I would love for you to give us your background, because you've got a diverse background.
I grew up in a family of suburban Washington, D.C. My dad was a government worker, used to work in the railroad before he went to work for the government. So I just grew up kind of in a regular, basic, modest family. And then I went into law enforcement, studied at a community college for 2 years, worked really hard, had my mind open up to this day. The best teacher, instructor, professor I ever had was at a community college, because he got me excited about reading and learning. And from that point on, my mind was attracted to the concept of education and knowledge. And to get straight A's at a community college, and I got scholarships to go to Penn State, where I continued my interest in criminal justice, and worked in law enforcement. I worked during college as a police officer in southern New Jersey on the Jersey Shore. And then when I graduated from college, I did undercover narcotics work on a drug task force, because I had law enforcement experience. I was young, I was 21, and I could do undercover work. And, I drove a Porsche and I had 20 different racing cars that, fancy cars, and, was a surfer, and I did all this cool undercover work in narcotics and organized crime. Got great insights. And then I went to law school. I ended up getting sued as a police officer for doing nothing wrong. I won't go into the details about it, but let's just say everybody knows that there are lawsuits out there that are frivolous, and I got one of those, and I was so offended that they settled out of court. I said, I'm going to go to the criminal justice system and change that. And so I became a criminal prosecutor, handling narcotics prosecution. And during that time, I was so interested in science, I couldn't shake my interest in medicine. And I was really interested in medicine as a young child, and being a doctor, I didn't think I was smart enough. But I decided later in life that I could do this. So I went back to college. I worked as a security guard. I wore a polyester uniform, even though I'd been a police officer and I'd been wearing these expensive suits as a criminal prosecutor. I took a job working as a polyester cladded night watchman with a little cap and bat, flashlight and stuff. And I got paid, like $8 an hour, almost nothing, to sit there and study. I got straight A's for my post-baccalaureate, college classes. I had to go back after being a lawyer, and college physics and all the classes I never took when I was in criminal justice. And I ended up getting a scholarship through the Army and Air Force and Navy as well, to go to medical school. And I accepted the Army scholarship, served 4 years, did a 4-year residency at Brooke Army Medical Center, concentrating in emergency medicine. And then I practiced for 15 years as an emergency medicine physician. I was in Korea. I was outstanding physician of the year for the entire Army. I got appointed to provide medical care to the presidents and vice president, President Clinton, President Bush, Vice President Cheney, Secretary of State Colin Powell, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. And so I got to see how to take care of these very, very important people. And then I started a company doing concierge medicine, taking care of ultra high net worth individuals who were billionaires, who were managing directors of hedge funds. Very, very interesting experience providing that medical care. But it was during that time, Dan, that I realized that our approach to conventional healthcare, all I did was improve it. So I knew that the kind of healthcare that was going on in a hospital could be done in people's homes. So I was, designing these $125 million private hospitals that we would construct and underneath people's palaces, royal families, and managing director of hedge funds. very, very wild stuff, undercover, unmarked, bulletproof ambulances and big $4 million ambulances and buses, just providing that kind of care, only better. But the problem, the rub I experienced was it was just conventional care at the point of need, right in the lives. And they didn't have to go to the hospital. But as far as their quality of life goes, they still fell apart and we would patch them up. And so I began to realize and ask the question, what could we do to prevent disease? And then I bumped into a researcher who was studying reversal chronic disease. And he taught me about this interesting biomarker called visceral fat. And there's tons of information about visceral fat, but who doesn't know about it? One population of people know less about it than anybody else, physician MDs, because it's not taught in medical school. And my answer to why they know less than anybody else, because nobody else it was really taught, is because the presumption is, if it's really important, Dan, it's for healthcare, it's going to be taught to us in medical school. And that is absolutely not the case, because nothing is more important to optimize a human being, improve health, improve their quality of living, and the level of disease, reducing it, than visceral fat. And that's what I learned from that one researcher, MD, PhD. And so I'll explain it to you for your audience sake, what visceral fat is. If you take an MRI scan through the level of the abdomen, typically we like to look at L3 right at the level of the belly button, and it creates an axial image. Then that image that is created is sort of like a pizza pie. And for the sake of your audience, I'm looking at this image that's mostly white and black and some gray in it. And on an MRI scan, fat shows up as white, and muscle, bone, organ, and tissue shows up as dark. So as you said earlier, like I talked about on the Dave Duran on Demand show, when it comes to your MRI scan, you want to be mostly dark, mostly black. You want to be mostly muscle and tissue and not white. You don't want to have white in there. That deep white in the center is visceral fat that we paint red, artificially in this image. And the white on the outside is subcutaneous fat. And it has two component parts that people don't know about. Half of the subcutaneous fat is as bad and as deadly as the visceral fat inside, but half is also just the opposite, really, really good for you. So if you're a leader, you have to be able to pick between the goats and the sheep. You need to be able to pick, between the grain and the weeds. You need to figure out good and bad. And that's what's missing in conventional healthcare. They don't really help you figure out the metrics to really optimize. And that's what I do. I take MRIs on people and I teach them to read what other doctors don't know about, so that you, as a leader of your body, CEO of your body, can make the most informed decisions about that company, that corporation, for it to operate at a higher level of efficiency with higher quality and improve the bottom line, which is your quality of life and the amount of disease that you have. You want to limit that. So that's a really important image. And a good example of the resolution we can get is, here's a guy he is medically bankrupt. He doesn't know it. He's not a going concern as far as the company. He or she, whoever they might be, just is not aware of the fact that they are not going to make it as a business. And the sad thing is, the radiologist who reads this doesn't know either. Another physician who looks at that. So it's up to the individual to understand and find this out on their own. So a huge amount of visceral fat. The dark is the muscle parts on the side. They're oblique muscles. These, by the way, are the back muscles. But in this case, this guy's back muscles have all these white streaks in it. So what people don't know, and same thing with these oblique muscles here, see those white streaks, is your muscles start to get replaced with inflammatory fat. It's called myosteatosis. And that inflammatory fat has been identified not by doctors, but through AI, ChatGPT, you can jump on this. A study was recently done, and they found out using AI that if you have that fat in your muscle, and the other term for it is called human marbling, it's like marbleized steak, you have double the risk of dying compared to an obese person. Yeah, twice the risk. So you really do not want to have these white streaks, your muscles being invaded. And by the way, that singly best explains why when you're 80 years old, you can't get up out of a chair without assistance, and you need somebody to help you out because your muscles have been slowly replaced through infiltrating fat getting in there. And nobody in the system is telling you about that. So you need to have this kind of magical look inside of your body and discover what is good and what is bad, and amplify and bring fidelity to the level of health that you have so that you can be more faithful to the mission that you are called to do as a leader. And so hopefully I'm beginning to resonate with somebody, some of your leaderships. Now, there are a lot of people, it's not that I'm so profoundly attracted to the man or woman who's a leader to optimize everything. I love that, including optimization of this health, if you give them that concept. But most people don't really think too much or don't know how to optimize their health. That's where I bring fidelity to it. But and it builds me up. It's my passion. It's what I have to do. Influence, help optimize influential leaders. But the opposite happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you, Dan. If I get around a leader who doesn't want to improve himself, really improve their physiology, it causes me to wilt like a lily, like Superman with a box of kryptonite opened up. It just deflates me. I have to give them the Heisman. I can't have anything to do with that person. But if they have to say, look, Sean, and I go by Dr. Sean on social media, but to my clients, I'm Sean. Sean, I want to be the best CEO. I want to be the best husband. I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best friend. I want to be best at everything, because when I do that, I can help more people and I enjoy my life more. Those are the type of people that are very, really enjoy working with me and get the best ROI.
You just, wow. Thank you so much. I couldn't have done a better job of introducing you. I know we went through the intro at the beginning, but that's exactly the kind of stuff that I'm attracted to. I love the phrase medically bankrupt. If you're not taking care of this body, this one vessel that we have to get through life, how can you make an impact, right? You talked a lot about being the best, and we all sit down at the beginning of the year and we set our goals, right? I want to be the best CEO. I want to be the best husband. I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best son to my dad. I want to be able to spend time with him. You can't do those things if you're spending time in the hospital. Gary Sanchez, who I worked with for the last 4 years, he invented the wide discovery, used to say all the time, he's a former dentist. So there's a correlation. I've got to introduce you to him, Dr. Sean. But he'd say this, when you have your health, you have 1,000 dreams. When you don't, you have one dream. Right?
Yeah.
So if we've got to start with that number one dream, a couple of things you said and I want guys, listeners, guys and gals, go look up inflammatory fat and ChatGPT and get to know that part of the business. The other thing that I want to make sure we spend some time on, and I know you shared some case studies on Dave's show, so I'd love you to, if you have one that you can share, there's a reversal that you can do. So a lot of the people that we work with and coaches, I know you'll see this, leaders of coaches and leaders, we're all in our 40s, 50s, 60s. And you think, well, this is the body I'm stuck with. This is what I've done the damage. But what you show is you can reverse a lot of this stuff so that you're not like my mother-in-law at 85 years old, 88 years old, that needs assistance getting up, because there's a gradual thing. And if you can reverse it starting now, even if you're already in your 60s, mid 60s, you can do something about it so you can have that muscle when you need it, when you're 85 years old and you need to get up out of a chair, so you don't need assistance. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So maybe a good example to start with is to talk about the change that happened with me and the observation that I've had as we eliminate visceral fat in people, that they improve their performance, their quality of life improves, but their ability to influence other people is critically enhanced. So if you recognize the fact that as a leader, your need to influence other people to help them improve their quality of life or the delivery of service or work that they are involved with underneath your direct supervision, then you're going to want to take very careful attention to this exploitable fact that the better your biology, the healthier you are, the more influential you are. So compare the man or woman who's lying in a hospital bed or their couch or their home bed. They're infirmed, they're out of shape, they're riddled with disease, their voice sounds like this. Your capacity to be able to influence other people who are in front of you is going to be directly mitigated and diminished by the amount of disease that you express and that they sensorially process through their vision, their hearing, their smell, everything. So the healthier you are, the more you can lead and influence. So let's take a look at these two individuals. This is me when I was 48 years old, and I was filled with both chronic disease and visceral fat. Now, a lot of people who look at this would say it's because I'm heavy. The truth is, I weigh more right now than I did here, but I had the wrong kind of extra weight. I had fat in my muscles. I had fat around my heart. I had fat in my abdomen. And you just have no awareness of how much baggage of disease you're carrying around yourself and how much your quality of life and your capacity for performing is going to be enhanced when you eliminate it. But look at the profound change in my face. And a lot of people they say that cannot be the same guy. And it's not weight loss, it's the loss of disease, impairment. And so that's what you got to do, get in an MRI to understand these targets and eliminate it. And by the way, don't come to me and talk to me about cholesterol. It's a big scam. It's a distraction, and that's all I'm going to say. If they can distract you from something like cholesterol, you're not going to find out about what really matters, which is this deadly inflammatory fat impairing your life that's deep in your abdomen, around your hearts, and filling your muscle tissue. So,
Dr. Sean, I'm going to interrupt you because you're absolutely right. I thought that was a patient of yours. I knew that was you on the right, but I said, he's going to compare himself to a patient of his. No, this is you at 48, and look at you at 59. You look younger, you look more vibrant. And I love what you talked about. This is a guy who, after my time in the military, I spent 20 some years in pharmaceutical and medical device sales. So some of the stuff that you're talking about, we're not going to get into any kind of conspiracy theories or anything, but there's a lot of money to be made in fixing stuff that medically or pharmaceutically than there is in just preventing and just lifestyle changes, which is so much of what you talk about. So I'll let you keep going. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the better you can improve your appearance, and I'm not talking about an Earl Scheib paint job where you just get some makeup or facelift or a new haircut. That's just a whitewash. That's a paint job. I'm talking about improving your body from the inside out. So as you improve your body from the inside, it naturally shows improvement on the outside. And then you'll be able to reach more people. You'll be a more effective leader. So this guy has a lot less inflammation, a lot less disease in their body. So that's what I like to do. I like to get people, educate them about these important biomarkers and show them the amount of disease that they have inside of them and show them the change that happens. And so I want to acquaint your audience with the capacity to exploit their biology to become a more effective leader. And voices are very intriguing. I can hear visceral fat inflammatory fat, being the sound of it's influenced within a tongue and within the laryngeal inlet and structures within the neck. And as we scan through these people, we can see these depositions. So it is why people like your favorite singers like Elton John, I grew up with him. I loved his singing when he was younger. He is not singing, neither are other people nearly as well from that genre, because not because of age, but because of this damaging fat that is being deposited within his tissues. And it's not age, it's disease. So you want to find this out. I'll come out on record, Dan, and say that the best athletes of the future are not going to be 20-year-old NFL players. They're going to be guys, ready for this, 60 years old. 60. Why? Because we will get them optimally performing, will eliminate that disease, and their risk for injury will go down, and they will have decades of experience playing the game. Right. And that's what I want to get your audience excited about. I want to get humanity excited about. Age is just a number, and you can just you should be getting better. So a good example of that getting better is through these photographs here, okay? This was me in my 20s, me or early 40s, 48. I'm getting worse. And if you're listening today, if you pull out your photographs, you're getting worse, if you're being honest. If you're not and you're getting better, then I'd like to talk to you and figure out why that is the case, because probably the same thing I'm doing. But from this age, 48 here, there's only one conclusion a reasonable person could come to. I'm getting better. But the course of that age is 12 years difference. Who is listening today can go to their photographs and say, in those 12 years, I improved my performance. My clients put their most recent photographs in their LinkedIn, not their old ones, because their most recent ones look better because they are better. And so the encouraging message I want to give to leadership today, to men and women who are leading other people, is you need to be biologically improving and leverage health optimization, not just losing weight, like joining some kind of Weight Watchers group or something. But I'm telling you to optimize your body like you optimize your company. And that's what's not being done today. People don't have an expectation that they can optimize their bodies the way they're so good at optimizing their companies. But if you lead a company and you're familiar with KPI, and you know what that means, I do that to the human body. Only call it KBI with a B for biological indicators. Key biological indicators, properly assessed with the correct strategies for optimizing them, is going to take humanity to super levels of achievement, health, and existence. And that's what I'm super excited about. I want to create superhumans. And I think with these kind of insights and utilization of AI, we're going to be able to do that. So that's what our company, my startup, is doing. We're looking at applying AI. We're going to be able to read people's faces, teach a machine to read disease in somebody's face, and give them the strategies to optimize for the rest of their lives.
You just gave now I'm looking and I'm trying to watch how I speak, but it doesn't matter. I can't change it. And that's what I love about this approach is, hey, Dan, you are where you are. I've made some changes. I'm making sure I'm getting to the gym. I'm doing the sprint workout that you gave. Holy cow, is that hard? 6 full out sprints, and then the recovery. And maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I'm at least doing it where I go 6 full out sprints, and then I try to get my heart rate back under 100, and then I do the next one. And then, so it takes me about 2 miles of walking and jogging before I can get those 6 full sprints in. I'm watching my diet. I'm not as good as I want to be. So this is such a kick I call it a Kita kick in the behind that gets me going to say, hey, Dan, you want to be a better leader. And that was so true what you said about the healthier you are, the more influential you are. You cannot influence anybody from a hospital bed. And you can't influence anybody from a stage if you don't look like the optimal human being that you're trying to help others be. And we work a lot on the psychological side of it, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done internally. And that's why I'm so glad you're here to talk about KBIs, the key biological indicators. Hey, there's a way you can set some goals and then take a look at those KPIs where you are. Again, doesn't matter where you are. That's just where you are. Let's work on how do we get better. And you're about that. And for those of us that, my regular listeners that are wondering, hey, what's Dr. Sean O'Mara's why? We didn't get a chance to do it ahead of time, but he's promised to take the YOS before we meet again. And I will share it with you guys before we air the episode, because I know you guys are hearing that better, best type of thing. So you're thinking better way. He's definitely you heard his background. He's definitely challenging the status quo. I can't wait to see what he does. Get an MD and a JD, so there's some mastery there. I cannot wait to see what the results come out at. But you've got a picture up on the board that I'm going to put you on full screen and let you talk about, because this was
so
something that was really cool.
Slides that will be interesting for your audience to be aware of is this the CEO of a company who hadn't really improved very much working with me. And so 4 questions I asked him: are you drinking? Are you not sleeping? Are you stressed out? Or are you cheating and eating processed foods? And he said, no. The thing he was doing a lot of distance running. And what we found, a big surprise, was that if you're involved in distance running, distance cycling, or anything kind of distance rowing, you tend to hold on to visceral fat inside your body, and nobody knows about it. It's probably what killed Jim Fixx, the famous marathoner. Because I see now when we scan marathoners, they're filled with this visceral fat inside. So we got this guy right at the level of his belly button to stop doing distance running. He was doing 10 miles a day, 5 days a week, and to adopt sprinting, just like you have, Dan. So we get people, don't do distance running. You want to do sprinting. And look how much he eliminated his visceral fat. He actually put on muscle. So the ability to track badness and see goodness with this kind of fidelity is what is available by MRI. But unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get your other doctor to do it. Right now, I'm the only doctor doing this. I'm training other physicians. We're expanding practices all over the country so that they can learn about this fantastic ability to do that. But that's really a key insight. The other thing I want to share so people can understand is the influence of diet, okay, what you eat. So here's another CEO of a company. This guy's 68. He's filled with this visceral fat that we painted red. And he's got this red streak of fat within his oblique muscles here. And then look, in just 2 weeks, he's improved that. And all he did was he cut out processed foods. So he stopped eating carbohydrates, cut out processed foods, and just ate meat and vegetables in whole form. And he had, in 2 weeks, a demonstrable improvement in his level of inflammatory deadly fat. And by the time 35 weeks came up, Dan, he had eliminated substantially, and all that fat within his muscle was gone. So this shows visibly the influence, the bad detrimental influence that carbohydrates and processed foods have on your inside, that most people listening right now and seeing this had no idea. But these images belong in every single medical school. They belong in every single doctor's office. They belong in every health class in the United States and the world. So we can teach kids and students what happens when you eat bad food. It destroys your body. And if you're eating that bad food, how much your body improves when you eliminate. Because this guy goes from having a dad bod, which, let's be honest, most of you listening today have a protruding abdomen, having this dad bod, to having now a body like a collegiate athlete. Here's the kicker. That guy, there's 35 weeks, did not exercise 1 minute. Not 1 minute of exercise. He exercised discipline when it came to his mouth, what went into his body. He started respecting his body as his most important physical asset, and he only put the best fuel inside of his body, and that's what you need to do. So I love teaching and working with clients to help them understand what are the most valuable strategies for optimizing the human body.
Man, this is so good. I love what you just said. He didn't do a bit of exercise. He exercised something very important, discipline. And that has made such a difference. And you know, here's the other part that I've done since listening to you, and I can't wait to do more of it. Is take out the processed foods. You know what the processed foods are, and they taste good, but you don't feel good when you eat a lot of processed food. When you eat protein and veggies and just clean food that hasn't had a lot of stuff added to it, I feel better. And I don't have to recover from that meal. I don't have to take a nap. I can move and be ready to go. Just like we were taught in the military. You know, when you're in the military, you could be at the chow hall, but you could be on the perimeter in about 2 minutes if you're needed, right? So you need to be able to move. So you can't be sitting down having a chicken fried steak and gravy and potatoes and all that stuff, because you're not going to be at optimal to go sprint to the front line and be able to defend your perimeter. So love all this stuff. Dr. Sean, we're close to the end here. Where can people get a hold of you? How do people follow you? I found you on LinkedIn fairly easily. So Dr. Sean O'Mara, I know we can find you on LinkedIn. What's your website? What's your company name? Tell us a little bit of how, if somebody wants to take action right now and get one of these images done on themselves and move forward faster, how do they do it?
Yeah, so people can find out about me through my website, just drshanomara.com, DRSEANOMARA.com. I'm also on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, YouTube, under the same handle, DRSEANOMARA.com. I have a educational community that many people join. Maybe they're not able to work with me, lack enough motivation or ability to come to work with me, either in Minneapolis, Minnesota, or now down in Florida, Sarasota and Naples, Florida, where my latest practices are opening up. They can, people in that kind of a situation who can't come to me, they can find out about joining my community, which is just DRSEANOMARA.podia.com. And they can be a part of my educational community, find out about content and my ebooks and courses that I have. On my YouTube channel, I have lots of free videos on how to optimize yourself, but you pay for what you get. If you want very good, the best results in the world very quickly, as fast as possible, and you think I've resonated with you, then you can consider come working with me one-on-one, and I will get you there that much faster rather than trying to do this for free. And I've done this for 13 years. The people that come to me get the best results in the world, one-on-one.
Hey, Dr. Sean, that you bring up something great. And I love that you're already working with other physicians, teaching them how to do this, because there's something that we all struggle as leaders, as executive coaches, and people that are helping other people be better, is there's only so much I can do one-on-one, right? So you've got to build that community. How are you? I've got to have this. What's your plan for world domination so that we have a bunch of people that are as fit as the clients that work directly with you? Because I can't imagine that you can give this great level of concierge service to more than 20 people at one time. But how are you? What's the plan to get this into the hands of more doctors?
I have about 180 active clients with me that have been working with me for the past about a year and a half. And but what we're doing as a startup is we're studying the process, figuring out ways. We don't really need doctors because we don't need prescriptions. We don't need to do surgical procedures. So we're teaching specialists. We formerly called them coaches, but now we call them specialists because they're way better than a coach. They're now doing one-on-ones with clients a lot more cheaply through the internet. And we're actually going to be moving to bots. Bots will teach people what to do. We'll do photographic analysis of people's faces and their bodies. We're teaching a machine how to do that interpretation. And the future is going to be telemedicine, but it's going to be tele-optimization is what I'm calling it. And we're going to be able to do that all over the globe, going to 7.9 billion people. So I have people flying in from all over the world. I have 200,000 unopened emails that I will never be able to get into. So you're lucky if you can reach me. And I'm looking for very, very interesting people with the most motivation to work with in my plans to study them and plant the seeds to optimize the company, because the leadership should be as healthy as possible and within their organization, and allow
Right.
that to trickle down. So I'm particularly interested in C-suites of very large self-insured companies, and we'd like to offer to them doing health and wellness for their entire company. We won't even charge them any money. We won't even charge them money. We just want a percentage of how much money we're going to save them. So it's a really great deal if you're
Mhm.
that kind of a motivated leader.
Man, I work with so many CEOs. I have one person in mind that I am going to call as soon as you and I are finished here. I'm going to say, hey, I got to get you in touch with Dr. Sean O'Mara. The fact you mentioned that you have 200,000 unanswered emails that you haven't gotten to makes me feel really good that you got to mine. I'm so glad you were able to get on the show. This has been energizing. It's been uplifting. It's been educational, and I really appreciate you getting on with us. Leaders, please get a hold of Dr. Sean O'Mara. Share the message with your networks. We want as many people as possible to know about all the positive effects that just even changing your diet and changing the way you exercise can have. But if you're motivated and you want to get those powerful, immediate, and face-to-face results, get a hold of Dr. Sean O'Mara. I think what's a great subject line that you put in there? Say, hey, put in your subject line. Look, I'm a business development guy. Put in the subject line, I want to work with you. I bet that makes it to the top of his 200,000 unanswered emails. So, guys, thank you so much. What do you say we end the show on that note, Dr. Sean?
That sounds great, Dan. And I'll just thank you very much for the opportunity to come and reach your audience. I'm very attracted with leadership. It's an awesome mission. Take it serious. Become the best leader you can possibly be by biologically optimizing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sean. I look forward to talking to you again soon. And leaders, we'll see you next week on another episode of Lead Different. Have a great rest of the week.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different because great leaders change the world.